Welcome to Workshop 1776. I'm Jack. Today we are drinking coffee because it is 9:27 in the morning. And we're going to talk about lighting upgrades. Alright, so recently I started filming again. It's been like 6 or 7 months since we put out anything. I just put out a quick shop tour, which is basically like how not to organize your shop because I realized that I messed it up. While I was filming that, I noticed that on camera it was really dark. And that's because, like most of you who have a garage shop, when we moved in, we only had the one light that was, right above where you would park your car, and basically just enough light for you to get out of your car and then get into your house. So I went and bought 4 LED shop lights just so I could see what I was doing in there, and I positioned them in a square directly above my table saw because that's where I spend most of my time. It was above my table saw and assembly, which is kind of like my outfeed table. It was right above that area. So the rest of the corners of the shop were super dark. And then even the lights that I bought, they were like more blue light than like daylight warm light. So it translated to a lot of like really dark and cold looking footage. So I ended up having to scrap a video that I filmed the entire thing, but when I started editing, I realized that I couldn't see anything that was going on. It was just really, really poor quality. So I decided that I'd do a little bit of research and figure out what people are using for shop lights that are in like a basement or a garage or whatever. And what I landed on was these lights on Amazon, and there'll be links for all of this stuff down below. So if you're looking for what I got, then there'll be links to it. But what I ended up getting was they're on Amazon, and they were from Sunco. And it's a 10-pack LED shop light, and the ones that I got are the 40-watt 5000K daylight. So I don't know what any of that means because I'm not a lighting aficionado, but I do know that like the daylight is the preferred for whatever for like filming and stuff. So I found these lights on a shop lighting upgrade video from Drew Fisher at Fisher Shop. If you guys don't follow him, you should. And he works in his basement. Basically, the whole point of this video is I'm doing a before and after. So I went around to the like 4 or 5 different like stations that are in my shop and just like filmed myself pretending to do work. And then I did the lighting upgrade, and then I went to the same thing and like pretended. And then so at the end of the video there'll be a side by side, and you guys can see for yourself whether you think that this pack of 10 lights is worth the money. I think the whole pack was like $175. And what's really nice about these is that they are like, you just hook the next one into the previous one. So you only have to plug one into the outlet, and then they just keep plugging them all in. Something else I was gonna say. I don't remember what it was. Okay, so we'll just get into the video right now. Alright, so I'm at my table saw right here, and you can see how that there's pretty good light right there, but it is still kind of dark and grainy. You can definitely see behind me that there's a lot of shadows. This is the outfeed assembly table area, and already you can tell, because all of the lights are in front of me at this point, that all of the, like everything behind me is just cast in shadow, and I didn't really notice that I couldn't see very well when I was working in there, but after the upgrade it was a huge difference. Okay, so this area has actually since been relocated, this whole bench, but at the time it was, and I talk about it in my shop tour video, this ended up just being a shelf that collects stuff, but like I said, I've relocated it and it's a better use of space now. But this area will eventually have more tools in it. Or maybe a home gym, we don't know. But you can see now that all of the lights are behind me, so everything in front of me, and this is a worse situation the assembly table is, because now everything that I'm working on in front of me is covered in shadow, so I couldn't see anything at all. Which is obviously, if I'm using a drill press or the bandsaw or anything like that you want to be able, those are like detail, like the bandsaw especially is detail oriented, so not being able to see pencil lines and stuff like that was a problem. Not as big of a problem as me using this as a shelf, but. Okay, so now the miter saw This was the farthest away from the lights, which the saw has its own little LED light on it, so I just kind of went with that for a while. But you'll see this was a drastic improvement. And then the last place is this little like paint booth area. It's just like a secondary workstation that's right next to my lumber rack. Now this was a twofold problem because right above me there was a big storage rack that came with the house. It's really nice and we like it, but it made it impossible to see anything. One, there was no lights above me, and even if there were, all of the stuff that was on the rack would have blocked out the light, obviously. So you can see how dark this is. So this is kind of a twofold improvement. I took down the rack and then obviously I put up a bunch more lights. So this is the biggest upgrade, or the biggest difference that you'll see in the before and after. But that's mainly due to the rack being removed. Alright, so now I'm just taking down that rack. You can see kind of where the lights are now. There's a couple, they're all behind me right now. Just taking everything down. And these racks they're really nice and they keep everything off the ground and it's great for storage, but in a small garage shop you kind of need to, if you need light, you can't have anything on the ceiling. This is super easy deinstallation, is that what they're called? I don't know. Okay, we get it. Taking it down, still taking it down. Okay, so these are the pack of 10 lights. They all came in one box, which was nice. And then I'm just getting them out and making sure everything is where it's supposed to be, and then I test one, see how bright it is. Each one came with it was a bunch of screws and drywall anchors, and then chains. So they're all in little eyelets. So you drill a hole, put the drywall anchor into it, and then just screw the eyelet in, and then put the chains onto the light itself, and then hang it onto the eyelet. So that made installing them really easy because it's super forgiving, because the chains have a little bit of sway and they obviously self-level, not level, but like kind of hang. You don't have to line everything up perfectly and they'll end up close to where you want them, which is nice. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just walking around my shop and then laying out where I want to put them on. I'm just laying them on the floor, just to see kind of the spacing and however I thought I wanted them to lay out. So I ended up doing a row down the middle, and then I went one to the right, one to the left, and then I had an extra, because there's 10 lights and I did 3 per row. One mistake I made here that I would suggest that everyone, if anyone buys these and wants to do that, is one of the female ends for the lights was bad, and I didn't plug them all in and then turn them on when they're on the ground, because then it would have been easier to have been like, oh, this one's bad, I can stick it over here. The light itself worked fine, but anything I plugged in after it wouldn't get any power to it. So it was the 3rd light in the first run, so all of the ones that I were putting up after didn't work. So I had to take that one out, and I was doing a bunch of tests trying to figure out if it was just this light or if it was the light that I plugged into it. So I highly recommend, when you're doing this layout, plug them all in and then turn them on and make sure that they all work. Get them to where you want them, and then go up the ladder once, instead of having to. What I ended up doing was going up and down a bunch of times, and it was a huge waste of time. Added like 30 minutes onto the installation. Definitely do that. Now, I don't know, I only had the one bad female end, which was fine because I ended up doing 2 separate runs. So I could have potentially had 2 that were bad. I don't know if that's a common thing. Definitely test them all out in the orientation that you're gonna put them up, and make sure that everything is working the way you want it to. And then you can send them back or whatever you need to do. All right, so this is just a time lapse of me putting them all up. You can see right here that it's a kind of a square. I have those. Just plugging them in. So what I ended up doing here was I knew I wanted light directly in the middle and then down to the table saw, and then from there I could kind of see how far that light traveled and where I needed to set up the left and right for it. So the layout helped, but I wanted to make sure that the light was going to be good enough, how far away I wanted it from that first initial row. Alright, so here we are. This is the table saw. So this is, like I said, this is the least amount of difference because that's where all the lights were focused. But some kind of key points is the quality of the light is better. It's, like I said, it's daylight, it's that warmer light. Was also helpful. Now, may or may not translate to camera in places that already had good light, but it's much easier to see in the shop. All right, moving on to the assembly table area. This is the first. These upgrades get more and more drastic as we move along. So now you can see on the right side that all of that's, like we were talking about before, all the shadow behind me and everything on the left side, everything is well illuminated because there's more lights in front and back on both sides. So that's better quality of light and eliminates mistakes that could potentially be made in the dark, obviously. Okay, and now here is a huge difference, obviously. There's a light directly over my head here. And you can tell that the quality is just much better. So the miter saw station is a huge upgrade, or not the station, the miter saw area. That whole place, I specifically took that last 10th light and put it directly above the miter saw. And that is also now where the bandsaw and that little 4-foot bench, or 7 foot but 4 feet tall bench with the bandsaw, the drill press, the disc sander and all that is now directly to the right of the miter saw. So there's really good lighting in that area now, where before I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants and using the little LED referencing light on the saw blade. Huge difference there. And then here you can obviously tell this is much better, mainly because of the rack. We took that down and then put a couple lights right above it. So that was obviously the biggest improvement. But yeah, so that's the before and after. I personally think that it was well worth the money. Now, I know after I bought these, a lot of people messaged me because I put out a poll on Instagram about lights. A lot of people messaged me and said oh, you should buy these lights and they're cheaper. You can get 14 for $150 or whatever. So I decided just to go with the ones that Drew Fisher had recommended because I saw the difference on his in the video he made. I'm very happy with the 10 lights. I still have the 4 original lights that I don't even need anymore. They're actually in here now helping brighten up this room because this room only has one window and it's in the corner. But it was a huge upgrade, and I can actually film stuff in there now and it's not super shadowy and dark and grainy. So my own personal opinion, definitely worth the money. And yeah, it's safer too. I'm not making miter saw cuts in the dark anymore or bandsaw cuts. So okay, so that is the lighting upgrade. So let's talk about the channel for a minute. We're gonna try to do I'm gonna try to do a video every week. I can't do full build videos every week because I'm a stay-at-home dad now and my kids require a lot of attention. There's one of them right now. And so what I think I'm gonna try to do is a build video every other week and then a laser time-lapse video on the off weeks. So if you guys think that's a good idea, let me know. I put out a poll on Instagram and people overwhelmingly said that they would like the laser time-lapse videos. I did one a while back and I just released one last week. So those don't take a whole lot of editing. I just set up my camera and do a time-lapse for a longer cut or whatever, and then just set it to music at 200 times speed or 500 times speed or whatever we end up doing. So let me know in the comments if that's something you guys would be interested in or if there's a better way, or I could just do a video every other week. It doesn't really matter to me. Our next video is gonna be this desk that I built. This is a 6-foot walnut top desk with just hairpin legs. I decided to keep it simple because this is also my wife's office. She's working from home right now. So now we have a big desk we can both sit at. So that's a build video on this, which is basically just the top. Like, I don't even think I showed putting the legs on because we were in such a hurry to get this thing up, which is just drilling holes, so putting screws in. So this is coming out next, and then I'm also gonna do after that one is gonna be it's a 2-foot blackout flag gun case. So my most popular video by far is that American flag gun case. I recently just got an order for one that's a smaller one. It's a 2-foot flag, just for pistols, and it's gonna be a blackout flag. So if you guys wanna see how I did the blackout flag on Instagram, I'm gonna go into the weeds on how I got the finish on there and the differentiating stripes and stuff like that. And then I'm gonna have RFID locks on it and like the gas strut things to like open it automatically and hold it open and stuff like that. So it's going to be like kind of a 2.0 version of what I did before, which is basically just a hinge that you had to open manually and hold open. But it's going to be smaller just for pistols. So definitely be sure to check those out. They're going to be really cool. I'm excited for those. And then what else? Oh, so this is kind of like half. This is our new studio. It's not quite to where we want it right now. Like, this is too high. It needs to come down a little bit. And then we also have other things in here that are, you know, for my wife's work and stuff like that. So I'm going to be adding stuff on this side. But I think that's about it. We just hit 6,000 subscribers. Yeah. We just hit 6,000 subscribers yesterday, I think, which thank you to all of you guys. It's absolutely amazing. I haven't put out, like I said before, I haven't put out videos and I don't even know how long. And we're still getting subscribers. So thanks to everybody who's stuck with us over the past like 6 or 7 months without any content. And then Instagram is also starting to take off as well, which is good because then we can kind of promote each other on there. And then I'm gonna bring beer back, I promise. But my wife doesn't work until later in the day now, so I film these in the mornings. So it's difficult for me to have 3 or 4 beers in the morning when I'm filming these things. So I'll figure out a better way to do it. But for now, it's gonna be coffee for a little bit. Unless I can do it on a weekend or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we're done. Okay. Coffee review? Is that a thing? Ooh, that's that Kroger brand. It's good. I like it.